Okay, I'm out today to practice up some more bow drill friction fire making, and I've got my improvised tripod for my camera, and I've got the materials I'm going to work with today are some pine, the trusted pine in my area, longleaf yellow pine, and a couple pieces of oak for the bow. I'm going to change it up a little bit today and work with something, my everyday tool, which this just happens to be a Leatherman PST, or Pocket Survival Tool, I guess. So this is the original Leatherman multi-tool. I bought this like back in 1990, so I carry this with me probably about 90% of the time. So this is my EDC, or everyday carry. So well over 20 years I've been carrying this thing around, and it's served me well. So I'm going to practice up, at least try or improvise with the bow drill by using basically what I would probably have in my pockets. And what I'm going to do is also, as opposed to using a shoelace like I used on my last video, is I'm going to actually use a strip of t-shirt. But as opposed to embarrassing myself on video, I will actually brought a spare t-shirt. So what I'll do is just simulate that I was wearing this and needed to rip off a strip of this t-shirt to use as a bowstring for the bow. So I'll give it a go. Alright, I'm going to see if I can work with this today. This is just a piece of oak that I just split off, and we'll use this as the bearing block. Got another piece of oak here for the bow, and I got a couple of V-notches either up here or down here, so once I tear off a piece of this t-shirt, we'll see how that's going to work out for bowstring. This, I'm thinking, it's probably sand pine as opposed to longleaf yellow pine. Looks different. So I'll probably use the wider section here for the fireboard, and then probably this section right here for the spindle. So I just started beaver cutting with the knife to get it so it'll break, hopefully, like so. And I got this big old log here for batoning, and some monkey fur, palm hair, palm fiber for tinder bundle. So this will work real well. I forgot to mention, one of the downsides to having this as a tool is there's no saw, so resorting to having to baton and break branches and whatnot, or have to beaver cut in order to fashion the parts of the set. Work for spindle. Okay, you're going to see about cutting the t-shirt. I'm just going to cut the bottom 2 inches or so off. Alright. That's the best job in the world. But anyway, so now we've got just the lower section of the t-shirt. Pretty much made of cotton, so it's going to be stretchy. What I'm going to do is just stretch it out, pre-stretch it basically, so that when I go to working on the bowstring here, with the bow, let's see what would be a good way to attach it. Try this. Twist it. There we go. So what I'll do is just leave the lower half unattached from the bow, so because I know it's going to stretch. And I'll actually just hold on to it with my bow hand, and as I'm bowing, it'll stretch, and I can actually adapt and add more tension to it on the fly. Real quick, just want to go over kind of the parts that I've fashioned so far. So I've got this is going to be my fireboard. So this pine branch here. This will be my spindle. And a couple things that I did here just to I did kind of scrape off the bark off the spindle to kind of straighten it out because it was a little crooked. But some things that can help improve the success rate with friction fire making is if you notice that I've actually kind of narrowed the bottom part of the spindle, just because I wanted to make sure that it wasn't any wider than the fireboard itself. So not only that, but that'll help because there's a little, there's less surface area, so I can actually apply more downward pressure in a smaller point. That hopefully I can get enough heat, build up enough heat to ignite the dust, basically. So what I've done is just kind of narrowed the bottom tip down. But also, if you note that the fireboard is about as thick as the diameter of the spindle, so that usually will also improve the success rate. So usually the bigger or the deeper the fireboard, the more mass that you have of the fireboard, it actually absorbs a lot of the heat that you're generating, and what you really want is to channel most of that heat into the notch or the dust pile that builds up in the notch. So the smaller the fireboard, the less of a radiator that it becomes to absorb the heat. So you want a skinnier, smaller, less mass of a fireboard. Again, kind of improves your chances. And also got my bearing block. So this is kind of going to be what it'll be once I burn it in. I'll use the t-shirt bowstring. Also collected just a small handful of nearby leaves. What I'll do is just crunch them up and put them into the bearing block divot for my spindle to kind of serve as a lubricant to try to minimize the friction. But believe it or not, once you get a good 20 seconds or so into bowing, a lot of the friction, a lot of your exertion is actually having to fight the friction that's occurring up near the bearing block. So the less friction you can have up here, again, kind of aids in improving your success rate. So the nice thing with the green vegetation is it does become like a nice fibrous mush. So that kind of serves as a natural bearing lubricant. Looking good. It did stretch out a little bit for me. I'll adjust for that. Getting actually some pretty good dark brown dust. It started smoking for me, so that's a good thing. The wood does feel nice and dry. Abandon this as a platform. Bowstring is still nice and stretchy. What I'll do is tie a knot on this end. Okay, here's what I got after the burning. So here's my fireboard here. So I'm going to get ready to carve my notch. Here's my spindle. And of course I had my green vegetation up near the top for the bearing block. Coming together nicely. What I'll do now is just carve my notch. Okay, just finished cutting in my notch. So I'm going to work out the shadow here. Alright, see if this is going to work. Looks good. All right. Get better with these first-time successes on the spot materials. Drop it here. In the bundle. There we go. Awesome. Okay, just to kind of go over the set after it's been used. So here's my fireboard here. So worked on the first try, which is really nice. Spindle. Oop. My spindle that worked out here. Oh, got shadow now. Can't win. And of course the bearing block up near the top here. And of course the bowstring, just kind of kept it simple. Just a big knot on the bottom here. And actually I just had the Y up near the top. So this is all I did. So nothing really elaborate or sophisticated. No special knot or nothing. Just untie this. So it's just the other loop. So the average person could potentially start a fire if they needed to, using less than ideal materials. Awesome.